when I think about intention, I think of on purpose. For me, that has been huge, kind of like over the years, discovering like what is my purpose. And I think that's a really daunting question for a lot of people.
Yeah.
To just be like, hey, what's your purpose?
So what's the difference between just asking that question and actually taking the time to journal?
You write slower than you think. And so it
Excellent.
purposefully slows you down.
Yeah.
You can't write as fast as you can think.
Yeah, that's a great.
And so it does take more time.
I also think sometimes we make our purpose out to be a bigger thing than it is. Like, where sometimes it's just like, what if you just wanted this to be your
Yeah.
purpose instead of waiting for
Like, so
the heavens to open up and God to speak to you and tell you? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go forward.
welcome to the Everyday Leader Podcast. Leadership is a choice. Join me, Matt, and my co-hosts Drew and Tate each episode as we break down how to lead powerfully in your family, team, and organization. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Everyday Leader Podcast. Drew and I are excited to be with our good friend, Jeff Perry. Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show, and extra cool that we get to record in person. So
Absolutely.
both these guys are far away from home, and it's cool to have
We
them here.
came here today just to do this in person.
Yeah.
Not just for that.
Yeah. So Jeff is a close friend. He's also the author of several books.
Mhm. Yep.
And one of them being the one I'm the most familiar with is The Intentional Engineer, and Jeff is an intentional person. Jeff is also the creator of several journals, and we're going to get into that a little bit today. So I'm excited to dive into a little bit of your experience, Jeff.
I always love a good conversation, and you guys certainly bring it. So let's go. Let's go.
Well, we love starting episodes off, and we'll get into your story a little bit, Jeff. But before we do that, how would you define leadership? What does leadership mean to you?
Leadership. I mean, Matt and I both share the distaste for just the basic concept of management,
Yeah.
and in a lot of our conversations. And so, but leadership is service, is one way that I would think about that. Serving people with love and care, and in a way that builds people to be their best selves. And so there's a service, there's a stewardship piece to that when you're a leader, whether that's in a family situation or a faith situation or in a professional situation. There's a service and a stewardship aspect, which doesn't always mean being the nicest, but doing right and taking care of people, and serving them with that love behind it.
Well, there's a difference between like a kind leader and a nice leader.
Yeah, we can
Right.
get into kindness versus nice, and our friend Curtis Morley would get.
When you say nice, that's what I think of. It's like, yeah, you're not always going to be nice
Yeah,
as a
exactly.
good leader
totally.
for someone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, so tell us a little bit about like your connection with, or just take on like the word intentional. I mean, obviously it's become a big part of your identity, what you have shared and helped people with. Tell us a little bit about that. Because obviously I believe that the leadership is an intention.
Yeah, totally. So I've been full-time for the most part coaching, doing leadership and career development coaching for the last 6.5 years, something like that, since 2019. And I come from an engineering background of working in tech and machines and manufacturing and stuff like that. And so even when I was young, I got into that space because I loved right answers. I loved objectivity and math and science and stuff like that. And so I kind of specialized after coming from that space and going into coaching that in working with that set of people, those engineers and those technology people, and found out pretty quickly that they were very much like me in some ways when I was younger, that they wanted concrete, clear answers to things. And they also really, they struggled with making future plans and thinking of what they wanted to create in their lives, because they were often just opportunistic. they would let life and opportunities and things come to them, which for a lot of years in engineering and technology was great from a career perspective for a lot of people, right? But they were letting life happen. So it's more on the reactive side of things. And what I found myself doing and really finding where I enjoyed that coaching the most was when we were really helping them craft a vision for who they wanted to be and where they wanted to go, and connected with a purpose that was deeper than just, I want to get this promotion at work kind of a deal. And so that word intentionality bubbled up pretty quickly it wasn't originally there when I first started coaching. I was talking a lot about mindset and becoming who you want to be and that sort of stuff, but intentionality became a theme pretty quickly. And I had that word, since I was talking to engineers, that intentional engineer idea for a book, sitting inside of me for quite a while before it finally came out. We can talk about that story if we want, but yeah, so connecting that in the coaching work, and also me myself trying to embrace that concept of intentionality, which, like we all do, sometimes I do that better than others, right? But always trying to come back to, what am I doing on purpose, right? Or another word that I think is synonymous is being deliberate, right? And so there's a purpose, there's a reason, there was a why behind how we're showing up and what we do in the different areas of our life.
Yeah. I love that, because it's, when I think about intention, I think of on purpose.
Yeah.
Or with purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And that, like, for me, that has been huge, kind of like over the years, discovering like, what is my purpose? And I think that's a really daunting question for a lot of people.
Yeah.
To just be like, hey, what's your purpose?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't, like, I think a lot of people do a lot of things on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I think most people don't really know like what the purpose is for what they're doing, or like the bigger purpose.
On purpose without purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's almost like, why am I choosing these things that I'm choosing on purpose? Right. So, and it's curious, like, in your experience talking to people, what have you seen that's helped people start to uncover or start to crystallize or articulate their purpose? And does it even need to be like a one-liner? Does it need to stick around forever? Does it change? Like, just curious your thoughts around that.
Yeah, I don't think that everyone necessarily is ready at all times to make a "this is my purpose in life" statement in a way that's going to be meaningful for them. Often to get there often means you have to do a number of work, at least to make that in a way that is actually meaningful for them. I know I've done that at times where, like, I'm just doing this for the sake of doing this, but I didn't really feel connected, and I'm just wordsmithing, but not like connecting with what that means, right? And so there's a danger there too, a little bit, when we're saying like make a purpose statement and whatnot. But so some of the work that I do, often we don't go right into purpose, although some people will say that's what they want. But rarely do people lead with, I'm trying to find purpose, or I'm trying to find meaning. They start with something more external, and then we get there later. But some of that is just saying like, hey, where they're trying to find clarity on what's next and whatnot. That's a huge piece of what I love doing with people. But that usually connects with uncovering and discovering and helping them see inside themselves what makes them different, their particular genius zones, which then identifies, oh, that's built out of learned experiences and skills that they've built and who they naturally are in different ways that combine in a way that, oh, that is some of the things that makes them different. And when they can identify that in a meaningful way, that can then inform, oh, that's taking me down a path to deliver value in ways that I can do uniquely that most others can't. So that's just one example of, like, we're not talking about purpose, but by identifying other things about them that they have seen in patterns, and sometimes we can map out certain life experiences and kind of like a timeline example, and other things to look at those patterns, and that can help them see those things that they might not have seen, but to recognize that. And then that can eventually tie into purpose. But to start with purpose, I think is really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's been my experience too, that it's like, it's a big question. And
Yeah. It feels scary and overwhelming.
well, and even to like try to laser in on one feels almost limiting sometimes.
Yeah. But I care about all these other things too.
Yeah. So anyways, it's fascinating. What you have any take on that, Drew, as far as like
I've been sitting here
all the
thinking
guys
about
that have
this.
been recently in your world uncovering part of the purpose?
Yeah, part of our framework, and you and I were talking about this today, Jeff. And
Yeah.
identity, purpose, and battle plan.
Right.
And we've talked a lot about it. Purpose kind of comes. It's easier to find if you know your identity. So it's like,
For sure.
That makes sense.
if you don't know that,
Or if you're like getting closer or
Right.
uncovering who you are. Yeah.
yeah, that makes that much easier. I also, and this is maybe a different take on it, but I also think sometimes we make our purpose out to be a bigger thing than it is. Like, where sometimes it's just like, well, what do you want it? Like, what if you just chose this to be your purpose? Like, what if you just wanted this to be your purpose instead of waiting for
Like
the heavens to open up and God to speak to you and tell you? It's like, yeah, I'm just going to go forward.
like, I love this.
I love this, and choosing to make. And so I think,
I can relate with that. Certainly. I like to say I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? So like, I want it to be just right.
We get like
I want
perfect tagline.
Yeah, but in seeking for that, sometimes then you limit or you hold back, right? Or don't ever define anything, which then just keeps you back all the time. And I see that true with many others, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I see it sometimes in my kids too. Like, they're so tied to things looking a certain way or wanting to get validation out of me in a certain way, right? And me trying to build those things that I've learned about trying to let go of that perfectionism and embracing the imperfect nature of life and learning and doing things that I didn't get when I was a kid. And it wasn't any fault of anyone else, but it's like what I interpreted all those lessons that I was getting, how I was ingesting all that, right?
Yeah.
And so finding purpose is one thing that feels big that you want to get just right and don't want to do that wrong, because otherwise that's going to inform everything else in the wrong way, right? And it can feel daunting.
Yeah.
But if it's a good thing, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very good. Talk to us a little bit about how like journaling, being reflective has helped you, or you've seen it help others with this idea of like uncovering purpose, or even like experiencing peace, or some of those things that we all want.
Yeah. So
there's a very intentional practice. It's like,
absolutely,
no one accidentally journals.
I never have stumbled. So I journal today.
Yeah. So my brief story with journaling, after serving a church mission, I was semi-regular and journaling then. And then I didn't. I mean, I think I probably bought a few journals over the years and got a few pages in and didn't go very well. But in 2020, that's when I discovered, we all talked about Benjamin Hardy and some of his work. But for a time, he was big on journaling. He had this little course on journaling. It was like $30. And so this was like May of 2020, COVID had just hit. I was like, oh man, I want to journal. I've had in the back of my mind that's something I want to do. So I bought his course, and for 30 days, he had prompts that I was journaling. So that started me. Since then, I've journaled almost every day. I rarely miss at least doing something. And my journaling practice has evolved and changed into a few different things, and added new practices and let go and other things. But I generally do a morning and an evening practice now. A morning is more about creating, what do I want this day to look like? Three things that I'm grateful for. I've taken some things, if you ever seen, like there's like a 5-minute journal out there, taken some things from that framework and added some of the things from me. What would make today great? a few affirmations or things about me that I want to reinforce for the day, and an intention. Like, what's my intentional focus for that day? So if I do that well, then I'm kind of setting myself up for things. And then in that same journal, I'm also, a couple of years ago, a friend of mine pointed me to a practice called two-way prayer. But it's using a journal as a prayer practice. And I've often struggled with making prayers meaningful, and often get in ruts and feeling like I'm just putting it in order or saying things for the sake of it, whatnot. Yeah, totally, Jeff. Exactly. And so, but this was something that, like, hey, I'm already in a journaling practice, but the whole concept is that you write a question to God, and then you sit back and see what you receive, and like actually listen for an answer and write it down. And it's not always, rarely is it like some big thing. A lot of times what comes is just like what I already know to do. And so call it God or call it intuition or whatever, but I go with, if it's a good thing, it's a good thing. Right? And so I figure if God didn't want me to say that, then he'd let me know. But it's a beautiful practice to say, I'm giving time in the morning usually to actually receive and write something down that I feel like I want, that God is letting me know, something that I'm seeking insights from or something like that, which really helps to, hey, at least have that moment at minimum that I feel like, hey, I connected with God that day.
So I've got a question for you, Jeff. I think I have my thoughts, but I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't journal near as much as I would like to. No, I had someone do a challenge recently that talked about, like, what if you woke up in the morning and lived like today's your last day, your last day? Or we've talked about recently, Matt, about what if today was the best day of
your life. Yeah.
So what's the difference between just asking that question and actually taking the time to journal? Like, what have you seen? What happens when you put that pen to paper, so to speak, versus just waking up and maybe taking a few minutes to ponder and meditate? Like,
yeah. And I'm not declaring that everyone must journal. I'm saying that is the practice for me.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. And so for me, and I journal with, I use a digital pad that doesn't have any distractions. So it's like pen and paper. Cause for me, it would not be helpful to do it on my phone or a computer.
Sure.
Right. But, either way, the difference is that you just have a record of it, I think, is what the journal gives you. Right. And the other thing that journaling is nice is you write slower than you think. And so it purposefully slows you down.
Yeah.
You can't write as fast as you can think.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so it does take more time.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. But there is a not being in a hurry practice and value to that too. To not be rushing first thing in the day, and to slow it down and ease into what that day is going to be. And there's value into first thing waking up and getting after it too, right?
Sure.
So, and yeah, so that's what I'd say.
Well, a couple of things that just come to mind as you say that, Jeff. One, like, how often do we just start our day and our mind's racing? But it just cause yourself to, I know I've tried to start my days with like meditation or prayer, and sometimes that's difficult enough.
Totally.
I could see how that could like actually help move you to slow down.
Yeah.
I've always journaled in the evening. It's more because I want to recap my day, but I love that. I
do that too.
Starting the morning that way. And then two, one thing I've noticed that I love that you said, like, now you have a record of it. I found that just writing stuff down helps me remember things. Even
it does.
Look at it again. And so I'm just like realizing, that would be a reason to a reason to journal just for that is if I'm having impressions and I'm writing down, even if I don't go back and look at them, they're likely to stick.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then a final kind of journal. Well, I journal in the evening too, and that's more the recap. Like, hey, it kind of connects with the gratitude in the morning, but like what amazing things happened that day.
Sure.
Like looking for those beautiful things. And then I got this from one of my friends who said like, hey, what's something I want to remember for today? So he connected it with that Disney Pixar show Inside Out of like the idea of a core memory. If there's something that like, hey, this happened today that was cool, I want to remember that. Like it's a way to capture that day. And then a little bit of an intention for even like a question I want to ponder as I go to sleep, which lets your subconscious work on that. And then like an intention for how I want to start the next day. So that's kind of the basic thing that I do at the end of the day as a journaling practice that helps. And I find doing that helps me record that and reflect on the day, but also helps my mind not be racing. It's a nice close for the day, and I usually don't have a hard time falling asleep when I do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's so good. I mean, and you may be wondering like, what's the connection between journaling and being a leader? And I think that it's the intentionality part. It's also like we talk a lot about self-leadership, and to me, like journaling can be a big part of like reflecting, becoming aware, looking at the things you're grateful for, the intentions you want to have. And so
Totally.
there's a lot there that can help someone show up, more powerfully through a journaling practice. Do you want to talk a little about the journals that you created? It's actually pretty remarkable.
Yeah. So I think I've shared at least some of them with both of you, if not all of them. So, and this was just a few months ago that I created these that, I mean, another one of those ideas that sticks in your head, like, oh, I can create these, and I finally do it. It's like, yeah, let's do it. So my wife actually partnered with me in creating all these, but first one's the intentional day journal. And this is more of that daily journaling, morning, evening practice. And then there's like a weekly reflection as well that kind of plan the whole week. And that lasts for about 3 months. This one is that two-way prayer practice. I call it the with God journal. So being with God in that journaling practice. So it teaches you that practice of doing that and gives you spaces and pages to do that. And then Matt, I think this is the one that I gave you and Kelsey, but this one's called Tell Me More. And so this was one that spawned out of an idea that my wife bought for, I think it was Mother's Day or something like that, or Valentine's Day maybe, that we bought some journals that we wrote with our older daughters who could write now. And so I had one with one of my daughters. My wife had one with one of our daughters, and it was a pass back and forth with like questions and activities to do. And we loved doing that with our kids. And so the idea spawned from that, like, what if we did that to intentionally journal and create great questions and conversations with a spouse as well? And so we drew from a number of different sources to intentionally curate some interesting, thought-provoking questions to go a little bit deeper with your spouse and things that you may not just normally talk about in a day-to-day
casual conversation.
Yeah, right. And it's been fun for us to use that together as well, and to have thought about what are those questions that are worth asking to deepen that relationship.
I'm going to make a commitment on this podcast.
Oh, good.
Maybe it's the same one that
I'm going to, whether or not I use a journal, I'm going to tell my wife to tell me more. I'm in a habit of it's like, I need the details. That's all. And I'm probably so busy and rushed that I'm not being present. And and I know there's times where she's like, I want to share the details with you.
Yeah.
And she would love to tell me more. So
that's awesome.
If you hear this episode,
well,
what came up for you
with the kids, like that's how with my older two kids who can write, and they both actually are really good at reading and writing, and like that's not like a block for them anymore. So that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Just simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see like my oldest daughter probably would have write like a whole page, and my oldest son would probably write one sentence, and it's all good.
Stuff like my kids.
Really cool.
Yeah. So I might make some ones for kids eventually too.
Cool.
But these are three that we thought that we wanted to make, and it's been fun to share them with people.
Yeah. It's funny how we just had different things come up. And if you're listening to this, like whatever comes up for you, go take action on it. Like be intentional, like be a leader and go.
And you can go buy a journal for that, or you can just get a notebook and you ask a question and say, here, McCoy, like,
need help. By Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazon's the place. Yeah.
What they need to search for the names of
the names of those.
we'll have Jeff.
We'll put those Amazon link in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, it's super good. I have always enjoyed the times that I've journaled, and it's so fascinating how easy it is to just not.
Right.
Like we said, it's a super intention to journal, and it's just easy not to.
Right.
So
and it's like anything, any sort of like habit or practice, like do it if it's useful for you.
Right.
Like,
yeah, and
if it's useful, great.
when it is, and seasons when it's less.
Mhm.
So,
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff, about what have you noticed the times of your life where you journal versus when you don't? Why has it become so important to you?
Yeah, I think it has become a keystone habit is one thing that psychologists will talk about, that can have keystone habits that support other habits. So for me, journaling is a keystone habit of prayer and connecting with God now, and of trying to reinforce certain principles and ideas and intentions that I have, and health goals and things that I have as well, that and accountability that I have with myself, or taking responsibility on those things. And so, yeah, it keeps, so if I do stray on any of those things, if I stay connected with the journal, that I don't stray for long, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of a grounding tool. It's
Absolutely.
It helps you stay on track in other areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. No, our friend Nathan, he talks about his anti-drift formula, and journaling is one of those pieces to it, that when I'm getting off,
I like that idea. Love that.
make sure it's one of his components that I'm like, I can see how, hey, that helps when I'm doing this. My connection with God is closer because I'm taking the time to listen, for example. So love that.
One of the things I tell myself about why I journal less or don't journal more is because this podcast is like my journal.
Well, I mean, it's something you're recording as you grow, and like there are elements of that,
for
right?
sure. And like, I'm joking. I'm not joking. Like, it's actually legit. Like, how cool for our kids, or anyone who has podcasts, for your kids and grandkids, to like have all this recording of their dad and grandma talking. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
But what made me think of that is that in my anti-drift is very much I call someone, and you two are both on the short list of people that I call. And it's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, though, is because it's like we were talking all the time about stuff. I'm like, we got to record these conversations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is I'm journaling right now. Look at this.
Yeah. Great. Well, fantastic.
So no, that's awesome, man. Thanks so much for sharing. Like, it's so good. Go find if this is like speaking to you and it's like, man, I want to get into the intention of journaling, go find one of Jeff's journals on Amazon and give it a shot.
Yeah. So if someone outside of connecting and getting your journals, if someone have an engineer that needs coaching, or just like what they heard from you today, or they just want to follow you or connect with you,
have a career change coming up,
what's the best?
Find me on LinkedIn, or jeff-perry.com is the website. Probably a little out of date with some of the my purpose stuff, but it's good enough. And some of the things that are changing, but
they can find me there.
Yeah, they can find me. Those are places to find me. But really, it comes down to like so many of us, we have the niche, and mine has been engineering and technology folks that I've worked with a lot. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do we connect with the humans and help people be better humans, right? Yeah. And become their best selves. And we all share that love for folks, whether that's in the professional realm or, in the family and whatnot too. Yeah. Matt and I were just talking the other day, I think it was last week, just got here to Utah, traveling, and was going to be here for about a week and a half with visiting family. And that gets me out of routines and stuff. Times are different. And other habits sort of lose it. And I'm trying to work and engage in family that I don't get to see all the time, and the different things that come with that. But I set the intention that I got from an author that I really like, Arthur Brooks, who teaches classes on happiness at Harvard and other places. He says the phone never belongs in the bedroom, ever. And so I had made that commitment to my wife the night before, and then I chatted with Matt the next morning. It's like, Matt, I'm making this commitment for at least this week. I'm the intention is for the phone not to be in the bedroom, and it's been awesome, right? Like, because that's one of the, our devices are one of those things that can get us to be unintentional and reactive so quickly.
Yeah.
For all of us, and so at least have intentional spaces where that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll add some more in the future as well to double down on that, or get a flip phone.
Or get a flip phone. We're all talking about this.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
For if that happens.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing, man. Great to have you on the show, and appreciate you sharing your insights with us today.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. To our listener, today's the day.
Thanks for joining us on the Everyday Leader podcast. If you're ready to take your leadership journey even further, subscribe to our weekly newsletter for more insights and practical tips. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram to stay a part of our growing community. Just follow the links in the show notes. If this episode impacted you, please help us spread the word and share the link with a friend from wherever you're listening.